Today I'm going to show you a annual type of budgeting tool. It differs from the monthly type of budgeting tools that we looked at in lessons 1 and 2. In lesson 1 we talked about a budget. We prepared a budget and we said a budget is a plan of the way to spend income and expenditures. In lesson 2, we talked about comparing the actual results to what we planned. The difference was a variance because we can plan a budget, but as we all know, that the way we spend our money does not always work according to what we planned. So we looked at two ways to capture our expenses. The two ways were to use a software that would capture your expenses and summarize them, or to keep all your receipts, add them up at the end of the month, and then compare what you've actually spent based on your receipts to what you plan to spend based on your budget. Well, that could be cumbersome. So here's another way to keep track of your income and expenses without having to keep a bunch of receipts or without having to use a software. Also, the monthly budgeting process does work, but as we know, most of us make our goals based on an annual basis. We say such things like, I'm going to buy a car this year, or I'm going to get out of debt this year, or I'm going to save X number of dollars. So we're making annual goals. So if we make annual goals, we should have a tool to let us look at how we're doing on an annual basis. Are we meeting our goals? Do we need to make a shift in our plans mid-year? So this budgeting tool does just that. As you can see, I have the months laid out. Also, I have my categories that I talked about in lesson 1 and 2. Now, the difference is you make adjustments throughout the month instead of waiting until the end of the month to make your adjustments. For example, if I plan before the month starts, I plan my income. Let's say I plan to receive $4,000, plan to pay $440 in tithes and offerings. My rent and mortgage is going to be $1,400, etc. But throughout the month, things change on the flexible side and the non-essential side. So let's say I had planned to spend $200 on transportation, but the cost of gas went up. So I ended up spending $300. Now I wouldn't wait until the end of the month to change it. I would simply go back into the Excel, and I would change that figure to 300. So as changes occur, I make changes to my spreadsheet. The end result is at the end of the month, I have actual figures. So I'm no longer dealing with planned figures and actual figures. I'm only dealing with actual figures. Now the advantage of doing it this way is you don't have to wait until the end of the month and tally up your receipts or download your software and do summaries and stuff like that. You have your final result at the end of the month. So also you can see how you're doing as the year progresses. So far, my income was $8,000. I spent $840 on tithes and offerings. That was 11% of my income. My rent on mortgage is 35%, and so on and so forth. Let's take a look at the savings. I've only saved 4% in February. But what if I set an annual goal to save 10%? This sheet here tells me I need to make some adjustments in my spending in the future months. Either I increase my income or I cut my expenses some way, somehow. That is the advantage of using an annual spreadsheet, an annual budgeting tool. It's simple. You don't have to do a lot of work in terms of saving receipts. You can make your changes right into Excel. In lessons 1 through 3, we talked about budgeting. In lesson 1, we talked about preparing a budget, that it was a plan. Then in lesson 2, we talked about comparing the actual results to the plan. And in lesson 3, which was this lesson, we talked about how to look at the budget on an annual basis. But there are many other types of budgets. I mean, there are budgets for special events. Let's say if you wanted to hold a barbecue, there's a budget for that. So you would know how much it would cost you and how much money you needed to purchase the item. Then there's the Christmas budget. In the book, there's an example of a Christmas budget. In the book, there's also an example of how to plan a menu. There's a budget tool for that. So I recommend getting the book for more information. We not only talk about budgeting, we talk about other financial topics. We talk about debt reduction. We talk about how to start a business. We talk about investments. So it's available on Amazon.com. I hope this was helpful, and thanks for watching.